I've been a documentary filmmaker for over a decade. I've filmed everything from war zones to wedding halls, seen things that would keep most people up at night. But nothing ever haunted me like that tape. It started last winter, when I got a call from an old college friend, Dylan. He was working for a city renovation project, clearing out condemned buildings before demolition. He said they'd found something strange in an abandoned high school on the outskirts of town. Old AV room, he told me. You'd love it. Vintage cameras, film reels, a box of old VHS tapes. Looks like nobody's been down there in 20 years. At first, I thought nothing of it. But when he said the power was still running, my curiosity took over. I drove there that same night. The place was a ruin, walls caved in, ceilings dripping, the smell of mold and wet plaster everywhere. The kind of building that feels wrong even before you walk inside. Dylan led me down a narrow stairwell to the basement. Our flashlights flickered over broken desks and peeling paint. In the corner was a stack of equipment, a couple of VHS decks, old TVs, film canisters. And on top of it all, a single unmarked tape. Black casing, no label, no dust. Like it had just been placed there. Take it, Dylan said, half joking. You're the film guy. I didn't need to be told twice. When I got home, I set up my old VCR, pressed the tape in, and hit play. The screen flickered to life, static first, then a faint, grayish image. A hallway. Long, dark, lined with lockers. The camera was handheld, shaky. Someone was filming inside the same high school. For a few minutes, nothing happened. Just the sound of footsteps and heavy breathing. Then the camera stopped in front of a classroom door marked Room 104. The door was open. The cameraman hesitated, then stepped inside. And that's when I saw it. A girl, maybe 16, standing at the far end of the room. Pale, motionless, her back to the camera. She was facing a chalkboard that had been wiped clean except for one sentence, scrawled over and over in white chalk. He's still here. The camera zoomed in slightly. The girl turned her head, just a little, and whispered something I couldn't make out. Then the footage cut. No fade, no static, just a hard cut to black. I rewound and played it again. Same thing. The girl, the chalkboard, the whisper, then darkness. Except this time. I noticed something new. When she turned her head, her eyes flicked, for just a second, right at the camera. And she smiled. A small, knowing smile. I paused the tape, heart pounding. The timestamp at the bottom of the screen read March 3, 1998, 3:17 a.m. That's what really got me. Why would a high school student be there at 3 a.m.? I spent hours replaying it, frame by frame. In one corner of the image, behind the girl, I noticed a shape. A shadow. It didn't move with the camera. It didn't move with the light. It just was there. I froze the frame. The shadow was tall, too tall to be human. It stretched up the wall, thin and jagged, like it had edges that didn't belong in this world. My phone rang, jolting me out of it. It was Dylan. Hey, man, you still got that tape? Yeah, I said. Why? There was a long pause on the other end. Then his voice dropped to a whisper. Don't watch it again. What? Just, don't. The guys who went down there yesterday, they're gone. I laughed nervously. Gone. What do you mean, gone? He didn't answer. I just heard his breathing, fast and shaky. Then he said one last thing before hanging up. If you hear static, leave the room. The line went dead. I sat there for a long time, staring at the paused image of that girl. I told myself it was a prank, an old tape made by students, maybe part of a film project. But then I heard it. Faint, from the VCR speaker. Static. Not from the TV, from inside the tape itself, like it was leaking sound even while paused. And then the screen flickered. Just once, but when it came back, the image had changed. The girl was gone. The room was empty. Only the chalkboard remained. And written across it, in fresh white letters that hadn't been there before. Stop watching. The message was on screen for 3 seconds, then gone. I pulled the tape out, heart hammering. The cassette was warm. Too warm. Like it had been running for hours. I unplugged the TV, shoved the tape in a drawer, and tried to sleep. But that night, around 3 a.m., my phone started buzzing. No number. No caller ID. Just static on the line. I hung up. It rang again. And again. The third time, I answered. At first, silence. Then a faint voice, a girl's whisper. You saw him, didn't you? I froze. Who is this? He doesn't like being seen. The line went dead. I stared at the dark screen of my phone, trembling. Then, from across the room, the TV clicked on by itself. Static filled the screen. And in the middle of that flickering snow, I saw a face. Distorted, blurred, pressing against the glass from the inside. Its mouth opened, wide, and whispered something I'll never forget. Keep watching. The power went out. I sat in the dark, the hum of static still echoing in my ears. And for the first time, I realized something. The tape hadn't just recorded something terrible. It was still recording. I didn't sleep that night. Even after the power came back, I left every light in the house on, but it didn't help. Every corner felt too dark, too quiet, as if the air itself was waiting for something. By morning, I convinced myself I'd imagined it. Maybe the face on the TV was just after image burn, maybe the voice was feedback. But when I walked past the drawer where I'd hidden the tape, I heard a faint click. Like something inside it had just moved. I wrapped the cassette in cloth, shoved it in a box, and drove it straight to Dylan's place. I wanted to give it back, tell him to get rid of it, burn it, anything. But when I got there, the front door was open. I called his name. No answer. The house was quiet, except for a faint, rhythmic whirring sound coming from upstairs. I followed it. The sound grew louder, mechanical, steady, like an old camcorder running. Dylan's bedroom door was half open. Inside, the curtains were drawn, and the only light came from a flickering TV. And in front of it, on the floor, sat Dylan. His head tilted slightly to the side. Eyes wide open. Completely still. The camcorder in front of him was recording, its red light blinking. On the TV, static. I stepped closer. Dylan. No reaction. Then, the static changed. The snow faded, replaced by an image, me. Standing exactly where I was now. It was like the TV was showing a live feed of me, in that room, watching him. Except I hadn't turned on any camera. I took a step back, heart slamming in my chest. The image on the TV took a step back too. Then Dylan moved. Slowly, his head turned toward me, stiff, unnatural. His jaw twitched, cracking as if it hadn't moved in hours. He whispered, his voice thin and dry. He's still filming. I bolted. By the time I reached the front door, the screen in the living room came to life behind me, every TV, every monitor in the house flickered on. And from each one came the same distorted voice, low and broken. Keep watching. I didn't look back. I didn't go home. I drove until the city disappeared behind me, pulled into a gas station, and sat there for what felt like hours, shaking. My phone buzzed. Unknown number. For some reason, I answered. A recording started playing, my voice, from last night, saying, "Who is this?" Then the same girl's whisper from before. He doesn't like being seen. I threw the phone onto the seat, hands trembling. That's when I noticed something on the passenger side floor, the box I'd used to store the tape. Empty. I didn't remember taking it out of the car. My throat went dry. I turned on the interior light, and froze. There was something written on the inside of my windshield, faintly traced into the fogged glass. Play me. I don't remember deciding to do it. I just drove home, like something else had taken over my body. When I got there, the tape was waiting, sitting on top of the TV again, exactly where it had been before. But now, it had a label. Handwritten in black marker. Part 2. My hands were shaking so hard I could barely insert it. The screen flickered, static rolled, and then. It wasn't the school hallway this time. It was a living room. My living room. The camera was positioned at the far corner, showing my sofa, my coffee table, the same lamp I was sitting beside right now. And then, the front door opened. I watched, breathless, as a figure walked in, me. Same clothes, same jacket, same terrified expression. I, sat on the couch, turned toward the camera, and whispered. "Don't look behind you." My body went cold. I froze in that exact position, staring at the screen. And then. I heard it. A soft shuffle from behind me. I couldn't breathe. Couldn't move. I forced myself to turn. Nothing. Empty room. When I looked back at the TV, the figure, myself, was gone. The screen went black for a second. Then a new image appeared, a close-up of a girl's face. The same one from the first tape. Her eyes were bloodshot now. Her voice was a low rasp. "He's almost done filming." The image glitched violently, flickering between her face and flashes of something else, the tall, jagged shadow again, now closer, clearer. It had no eyes. No features. Just the shape of a head stretched far too long, shoulders that bent the wrong way. It filled the frame, and a distorted noise filled the room, half static, half breathing. Then the camera spun around. For a split second, I saw a man holding it. His hands were wrong, fingers too thin, nails too long. He lifted his head toward the lens, and for the briefest moment, I saw his face. It was blurred. But beneath the distortion, I could see a grin, a mouth full of static, like electricity bleeding through skin. The footage ended with the camera falling to the ground. Then, black screen. I sat there, shaking. Then the TV flickered one last time, and a single sentence appeared on the screen. Recording in progress. My camera light turned on by itself. The red dot blinked. And somewhere inside the house, I heard the faint, mechanical whir of another camera starting to record. I don't remember falling asleep that night. I remember only the blinking red light. That steady, rhythmic pulse in the dark, like the heartbeat of something that shouldn't exist. When I opened my eyes, the house was silent. Too silent. My camera sat where I'd left it on the desk. The red light was still blinking, still recording. The tape I'd watched the night before was gone again. And on the TV screen, frozen on pause, was a single frame. A hallway. The same hallway from the first tape. But now, someone new was there, standing halfway down the corridor, their back to the camera. The shape of their shoulders, the tilt of their head, it was me. I hit stop. The VCR clicked, whirring. The tape inside was blank, no label this time. When I ejected it, I noticed something strange. The plastic casing had warped slightly, like it had been melted from the inside. And the tape reel, it wasn't black anymore. It was gray. The color of old ash. That's when I realized. I'd been filming. I checked my own camera, the recording had stopped. I pressed playback. The footage showed me asleep on the couch. The timestamp at the bottom read 3:07 a.m. Static filled the next few seconds. Then, slowly, the image returned. The angle had changed. Now the camera was filming from across the room. Someone else was holding it. And I was no longer on the couch. I was standing in the doorway, facing the camera, eyes open, whispering something. The sound was distorted, soft, muffled, but when I turned up the volume, I finally understood what I was saying. He's almost done. The screen went dark. By morning, I couldn't take it anymore. I packed the camera, the tape, everything, into my car. If this thing wanted to follow me, I'd make sure it followed me somewhere it couldn't come back from. The sun was just beginning to rise when I reached the old quarry outside town. The air was cold, the kind that bites into your skin. I grabbed the tape and the camera, walked to the edge of the pit, and threw them as far as I could. They shattered somewhere in the distance, a faint clatter swallowed by the wind. For the first time in days, I felt lighter. I told myself it was over. I told myself it was just paranoia. And for a while, I believed it. 3 weeks later, a package arrived. No return address. Inside, a single VHS tape. My name written across the label. I wanted to burn it, but my hands moved on their own, like something deep inside needed to see. So I watched. The footage was clearer this time, almost recent. The camera panned across a dark room, my living room again. Then the image shifted to the front door. It opened. Someone stepped in. It was me. Except I wasn't alone. A figure followed, tall, thin, its limbs bending in slow, impossible angles. Its head brushed the ceiling. The moment it entered, the sound cut out completely. The image started to flicker, the static thick like fog. I could barely make out my own voice through the distortion. He's here. The figure turned toward the camera. And for the first time, the distortion cleared just enough for me to see its face. It wasn't a monster. It wasn't even something alien. It was me. Or what was left of me, pale, stretched, eyes empty, mouth frozen in that same grin I'd seen on Dylan before. The image glitched again. Then the camera panned down. Dylan's body lay on the floor beside the TV. His eyes open. His lips moved, forming one last word. Watch. I fell backward, tripping over the cables, trying to shut off the TV. But the screen stayed on. The footage changed, now showing my own face, staring back through the screen. Except I wasn't moving. Then the camera on my desk powered itself on. The red light blinked. The sound of the tape played again, static, followed by whispering. The girl's voice this time, faint but clear. He finished filming. The house around me began to hum. Every outlet, every light bulb buzzed with energy. The TV screen rippled like water, and from deep within the static, that tall shadow began to emerge, pressing against the glass, its hands flattening on the inside of the screen. I grabbed the cord and pulled. Sparks flew, but the image didn't stop. He finished filming, the voice said again. Now it's your turn. The screen went white. They found me 2 days later. At least, that's what the police report says. According to them, I was sitting cross-legged on the living room floor, camera pointed at the TV, whispering the same sentence over and over. But here's the thing, I don't remember being found. I don't remember leaving. All I remember is the static. And the girl's voice. Sometimes, at night, my phone buzzes again, an unknown number. When I answer, I don't hear breathing anymore. I hear my own voice. Keep watching. And in the faint glow of the TV screen, I can still see the red light blinking, steady, patient. Recording. Always recording.